Hello, my name is Camilo, and I'm here to talk about freedom. Freedom matters. Freedom is paramount. We pursue freedom because we know it's the right thing to do. Freedom is the right to question and change the established way of doing things. Where can we find freedom? For sure, in the cyberspace. In the cyberspace, we can deal with people in a peer-to-peer way. That's it, without intervention of undesired third parties. This is great. We can do this in cyberspace thanks to the magic of cryptography. Thanks to cryptography, we can build impenetrable cyber walls. Between these walls, we can build our gardens. And in these gardens, we can invite whoever we want to get in and to grow things with us. But also, thanks to these walls, we can leave out whoever we doesn't want. That's it. We can build our garden without interventions of undesired third parties. Simply put, the digital realm cannot escape the rules of cryptography. Crypto-anarchists and cypherpunks have set their conquering flag in cyberspace, and there's no force on Earth that can remove it. And this is great. But this is only for the cyberspace. On the other hand, in the physical world, we lack this magic technology of building impenetrable walls. In the physical world, when we build our gardens, anyone with enough force can break them. So, what can we do about it? Rules are certainly different. Let's take a look first at one connection between the digital world and the physical world, so we can see how they interact. Let's use Bitcoin as an example. Oh, no. Sorry if I had the problem with the... No. Sorry. Wrong button. There we go. Let's use Bitcoin as an example to see the connection between these two worlds. Bitcoin layer 1 is composed essentially of software. That's it. Any software that produces the same output as the reference implementation, Bitcoin Core. Then Bitcoin layer 2 is more software that interacts with Bitcoin layer 1 in some way. And then we have Bitcoin layer 3, layer N, sidechains, and whatever. All these softwares, of course, they live in cyberspace, but they require hardware, which necessarily exists in the physical world. But the hardware is hardly ever under attack. We have seen examples, for instance, when countries such as China decided to attack Bitcoin, for example, Bitcoin mining, and the hash rate, of course, the hash rate of the network went down, but the network was hardly affected at all. The network price didn't change, and one block kept coming every 10 minutes in average. So basically, any attack towards the Bitcoin layer 1 on the physical space, it doesn't change much. It doesn't subtract any value from the network. But Bitcoin is more than layer 1, 2, and upwards. Bitcoin is also layer 0. The layer 0 of Bitcoin is the actual layer that matters. Bitcoin layer 0 is the layer that created the other layers, and Bitcoin layer 0 is composed by people, it's composed by humans. And any physical attack on individuals does matter. Any kind of attack on violence on individuals and any kind of threats that modify the way they behave actually subtract value from the network. Let's see an example. Alice is a merchant. Alice has created a product that she wishes to sell in the market for 10 satoshis. She has done all the research, and she even has a lead whose name is Bob. Bob is looking to buy Alice's product, and he's willing to pay 10 satoshis for that product. But Alice, before going to the market and sell her product, she's a rational person, and she analyzes the world she's in. Before going to the market, she sees that she's living under a government jurisdiction. Under this government jurisdiction, Alice studies all the laws and regulations, and she sees that the government has criminal law, civil law, taxation laws, custom law, environmental laws, money laundering regulation, permits, license, and a whole myriad of regulation and things she has to take care before putting her product in the market. And she also analyzes these regulations, and she sees that in case of not fulfilling everything that is required, she's threatened to be sent to jail. She's also threatened to be shot, maybe when she's trying to avoid being sent to jail. She sees that if she is sent to jail, she can be tortured there, and also that all her assets can be confiscated. So Alice doesn't like this. So Alice says, okay, I'm going to modify my product in order to make it compliance. So compliance is when you fulfill all the regulations that the government says about your product or your way to behave. So Alice does all the compliance stuff. Basically, she has to hire maybe a lawyer to explain to her what the regulations are and how to change the product, probably an accountant to tell her what are the taxes in order to sell this product, and also to pay the taxes. And then she has to hire somebody that obtains all the license and permits, and maybe she has to do some checks and marks for money laundering regulations and everything. So she does all of this. She invests time and effort in doing all of this. And then she goes to the market to sell the product. In the market, there's Bob, the lead that wanted to purchase her product. And Bob sees the product and says, oh, okay, this is sort of what I'm looking for. This is not exactly the product you told me, Alice. This is a similar product, and it's inferior than the one you made. You clearly made some changes. Why did you do that, Alice? And Alice says, oh, yeah, Bob, sorry, I had to change the product because the government told me to, and, well, I just don't want to go to jail. And Bob says, okay, but this product is inferior. I was looking for a better product, and I was willing to pay 10 satoshis for this product. But now that it's inferior, I can offer you 9 satoshis for this product. To which Alice replies, oh, Bob, yeah, I understand, but not only I cannot sell you the product for 9 satoshis, I have to charge you 13 satoshis for this product, because I had to invest a lot in compliance and changing my product. And then Bob replies, well, this is clearly an inferior product and it's overpriced, so thank you, Alice, but I'm not buying this. Then comes Charlie. Charlie comes to the market and sees Alice's product, and Charlie's looking something similar. Maybe Charlie doesn't like the product the way it is. He would have preferred the original product that Alice made, but he still needs it, so he buys the product for 13 satoshi. And finally, and this is the last character of the story, comes Daniel. Daniel is a competition of Alice. Daniel also made a product almost identical that the one Alice made. And Daniel also wants to sell that product in the market for 10 satoshis. But Daniel also analyzes the world he lives in, and Daniel also lives under a government jurisdiction. But unlike Alice, Daniel says, well, the product I just made, it's a good product, it's a decent product. I believe in my product, and I believe it should be exactly the way I make it. And I know Bob is looking to buy a product such as this. And I'm not going to change it, because this is the right product. And this product doesn't hurt anybody, and it's going to be bought by Bob, who's clearly willingly looking to do so. So I'm not hurting anyone. I'm going to sell the product the way it is. But then Daniel also sees the consequences of not complying. That's it. Daniel sees that he's being threatened to be shot, to being thrown to jail, to being tortured in jail, and to having all his assets confiscated. And Daniel, of course, doesn't like this either, but he also wants to sell the product the way it is. So Daniel decides to take a risk. Daniel decides to sell his product in the free market, in a non-compliance way, or also called the black market. But when Daniel does this analysis, he now sees that he's taking a risk, a bigger risk that if there wasn't this all compliance stuff that he has to fulfill. So when he goes to the market, he puts his product, but at 11 satoshis. This is basically because necessarily the cost of the risk has to be translated to the product. And in this market comes Bob, and Bob sees the product. When Bob sees the product, he says, okay, Daniel, this is exactly the product I'm looking for. I'm good with it. I offer you 10 satoshis for the product, to which Daniel replies, your offer seems good to me, but I'm taking all this risk, and I certainly have to put the risk into the price, so I cannot sell you the product for 10, I can only sell you for 11 satoshis. To which one, Bob replies, okay, I like the product for 11 satoshis, it seems a good price, and he buys it. It's completely useless. And each time a product or service is attacked by some regulation, then this is an indirect attack on the Bitcoin network because it subtracts real and demonstrable value from the Bitcoin network. The total worth of the Bitcoin network is the total value created by humankind sustained up to the present, and plus the total value that humankind is going to create in the future, divided 21 million Bitcoin. This is certainly a lot of value, but if the dividend goes to zero, the divisor also goes to zero. And if the dividend growth is obstructed, then the divisor growth is also obstructed. To recap, we have freedom in the cyberspace, but in the physical space, we have a lot of trouble in finding it. In 1984, the Austrian economist Friedrich Hayek predicted that we couldn't take money out of the hand of the government with violence. He stated that we needed to do it in a sly, roundabout way. 25 years later, Satoshi Nakamoto discovered Bitcoin, thus fulfilling Hayek's prophecy. Bitcoin is a sly, roundabout way that removes money from the hands of the government without violence and in a way that they can't stop it. Sorry again. There we go. Cryptography in general and protocols such as Tor and Tails are the sly roundabout way that remove confidential information from the hands of the government without violence and in a way that they can't stop it. Nostr is a sly roundabout way that removes social media and public information from the hands of the government without violence in a way that they can stop it. And in the physical space, special jurisdictions, free cities, and Bitcoin citadels are the sly roundabout way that is removing the market of living together from the hands of the government without violence in a way that they can stop it. So what are special jurisdictions? I'm using this term as an umbrella term, as a term that fulfills all the kinds of experiments and iterations of products that aim to modify the rules of the mainstream market of living together. Currently, the market of living together, or the organization of the physical space, is done by a conglomerate of governments. The totality of governments creates all the rules for every aspect of life, for every individual in the planet, and they enforce all these rules through coercive means and violence. Special jurisdictions aim to create specific areas inside governments, inside hosted states, to change the rules in some specific aspects for them in order to obtain more freedom and in order to obtain a better possibility to experiment in this market of living together. Under the term of special jurisdictions, we can find charter cities, special economic zones, micropolis, microstates, startup societies, government as a service, self-government jurisdictions, autonomous intentional communities, network states, and Bitcoin citadels. I'm going to talk about two examples of these iterations. One of them is the special economic zones. Special economic zones are on this matrix on the way to do things from the top to down and to do them in a fully compliant way. That's it. Special economic zones are bounded areas inside of a host state with certain rules that the government allows them to change. One example of them is Shenzhen in China. In Shenzhen, the Chinese government allows foreigners to invest in Shenzhen, and also they allow Chinese nationals to own their own businesses. They also relax the migration rules in order for Chinese nationals to be able to live and work there. Doing this, they created a thrilling economy, and it was a very successful experiment. After doing Shenzhen, the Chinese government experimented in the same way in different special economic zones that they also created. A similar example is Dubai. The successful Dubai basically created a set of specific rules that were encouraging business to set up shop there. And one of these rules is the possibility of selecting the government jurisdiction that they want to apply in case of dispute resolution for their businesses. That's it. Basically, the businesses don't require to go to Dubai's government in case of a dispute resolution, and they can pick whoever they want. On the other side of the spectrum, on the completely opposite side of this spectrum, we have Bitcoin citadels. Bitcoin citadels are more bottom-up project, more like grassroots project, and they're in the less compliance way of doing things. But they have the same purpose, the purpose to change eventually the rules that they are going to be applied inside them. One example of a Bitcoin citadel is the free commune of Penadexo. The free commune of Penadexo is located in the northern part of Spain, and their objective is to create a peer-to-peer society. What they did basically is they took over, they occupied an abandoned historic village in a part of Spain, which was completely abandoned. And it was far from a city. In this village, they started to live there. They started to fix the properties they use, and they started to track down the owners in order to find them and buy as much property as they can. The relationship with government is kept as low as possible, under the same model that they use for the society. Basically, by staying away from the government and being good neighbors, they get to enjoy factual freedom in their lifetime without having to invest one single Satoshi for lobbying the government. And there are many Bitcoin citadels being built at the moment, and there are many projects, sort of Bitcoin citadels and alike, and a lot of grassroots projects that share the same Bitcoin ethos. And they all want to help each other because they all have the same objective in common, regardless of where they are trying to make their project or their specific ideology. And this is where the mesh citadel comes into play. The mesh citadel is a network of peer-to-peer Bitcoiners building their Bitcoin citadels. In the mesh citadel looks to help, defend, and boost Bitcoin citadels. The objective of the mesh citadel is to convince enough people, the long-term goal of the mesh citadel is to convince enough people in a state to prove them that Bitcoin is as peaceful as it gets. And eventually, they will get to persuade the government that allow the Bitcoin citadel inside its territory in the form of a Bitcoin safe haven. The mesh citadel operates in a way like a Hanseatic League, but built under a starfish model. Because if you cut off a spider's head, it dies. But when you cut off a starfish arm, it can regenerate into a new one. In the mesh citadel, we are fighting for our freedom from the moral high ground, using memes, Nostr nodes, and creating circular offline and online economy. To conclude, special jurisdictions, Bitcoin citadels, and free cities are the slight roundabout way that is removing the market of living together from the hands of the government in a way that they can stop it, and without violence. Nation-states have halted the development of the market of living together for so long that a blooming freer market is eating its lunch. The sovereign individual thesis is live and continually expanding. Intentional communities all around the globe are redefining the way individuals relate to governments. And now, with global internet connections and sensible means of communications, and Bitcoin as the backbone of a new societal order, We are beginning to disrupt the old paradigm. The fashion of the present world is fading away. Let's help it to move forward by building beacon citadels, free cities, and special jurisdictions. Thank you.